Hello everyone, my name is png.jpg, but you can call me PNG for short. Now, as you may or may not know, Ana is my favorite character in Overwatch. I love everything about her kit. She has two of the most impactful cooldowns in Overwatch, has an amazing ultimate with a good gun and very satisfying visual and audio design. Ana is pretty much perfect, and quite a few people agree. In my years of playing Overwatch, I've rarely met a person who actively dislikes playing with or as Ana. Ana is pretty well known for being one of the most fun and fair supports in the game, but something else Ana is known for is being one of the hardest supports to play. Anyone can pick up and try Ana, she's pretty intuitive for the most part, but not everyone can play her well, and that's why I'm here. I've wanted to make little guides about Overwatch characters for a while now, and so I wanted to start with the character I probably know the most intimately. If you've found this video, chances are you've probably heard of ML7, or are one of my friends, if that's the option. Hi. But if you aren't personally my friend, you've probably heard of ML7, who is debatably the best support player in the world, and he has made so many guides on how to play Ana over the years I can't even count them. So why would I make one too, especially if he's exponentially better than me? Well, I feel I offer some insight that ML7 can't ever have. I was once bad at the game. Like, really bad. When I started playing Overwatch, I was bronze on PS4. Now I'm GM5 on PC. So I know what it's like to be bad at the game, and I know how it feels to learn a character from scratch without any prior shooter experience. So that's the perspective I'm bringing to this Ana guide today. I'm thinking of this like a stepping stone between a bronze 5 player and ML7. Hopefully, someday, you can surpass even me and learn from the best, but until then, I'm here for you. Now, let's get started. Let's begin with Ana's kit, so that we're starting from the same place. The most basic part of Ana's kit is her gun. It's very simple, with only one firing mode and the ability to ADS, or aim down sights, to zoom in, since it's a sniper rifle. If you fire from the hip, the bullet is a projectile with a speed of 125 meters per second and has a projectile size of 0.1 meters, but scoped in, the bullet is hit scan and has a size of 0.3 meters for allies only, though Ana moves with a 65% speed penalty while scoped and has a 0.24 second scope in time and a 0.16 scope out time. Each bullet deals 70 damage over 0.59 seconds, or heals for 70 health over 0.59 seconds, depending on the player hit. The bullets cannot headshot, but they also have no fall-off. Ana's fire rate is 1.25 shots per second, she has 15 ammo, and a 1.5 second reload time. Ana's reload animation is actually longer after all her shots are fully depleted, but this is simply because she does not cock the gun back after firing like she does with all her other shots. The actual time of the reload, including the cock, would be the same. Next is Ana's primary ability, Sleep Dart. Sleep Dart shoots out a projectile with a speed of 60 meters per second that, upon contacting an enemy, incapacitates them for 1.5 to 5 seconds, 3.5 seconds max on tanks. This incapacitation is very similar to being shattered, except the target is awoken after a 0.5 second wake-up animation by any damage taken. The dart itself does 5 damage on impact, and can be blocked by all regular forms of mitigation, so Genji Deflect, Sigma Kinetic Grasp, Orisa Javelin Spin, Reinhardt Barrier, etc. It has a projectile size of 0.2 meters and has a 0.304 second cast time with a 0.67 second recovery time, and it has a 14 second cooldown. Her secondary ability is the Biotic Grenade. This is a grenade with a 4 meter splash radius that deals 60 damage to any enemies hit and makes them unable to be healed. If a teammate is hit by it, it heals them for 60 health and amplifies the healing they receive by 50%. Both lingering effects last for 3.5 seconds. The grenade travels at 30 meters per second, has a 10-second cooldown, and has a recovery time of 0.686 seconds after being thrown. Both the Biotic Grenade and her primary fire travel through full HP teammates. Finally, on to Ana's ultimate, Nano Boost. This is a targeted ability with a range of 40 meters that instantly restores 250 of the target's health and gives them both a 50% damage boost and a 50% damage reduction. It lasts for 8 seconds and cannot be blocked by any means except for the healing, which can be blocked if the target is anti-healed. And that's Ana, in as much depth as I believe is useful. Now before I talk to you about how to use your abilities on Ana, I have to mention the most important part of Ana: when to not play her. This is a pretty important concept for most Overwatch players. A lot of people think you can just one-trick a hero forever and win all the time, but unfortunately we have counters in this game. Situations where you wouldn't want to play Widowmaker are typically situations you don't want to play Ana, since they're both long-range snipers. If the enemy team has Doomfist, Sombra, Tracer, Lucio, and Kiriko, it might be time to switch off Ana. Most dive tanks counter Ana since they typically outmaneuver her and deal enough burst damage to chew through her grenade self-healing before she can deal lethal damage. D.Va especially is a hard matchup for Ana since she can defense matrix both her grenade, preventing the self-healing and the damage anti-effect, and her sleep dart. Winston is more of a neutral matchup the better you get, since if you save your sleep dart you can hit the Winston and absolutely destroy him with your team. Wrecking Ball is also an odd matchup since sleeping him can devastate him, but he can also destroy Ana fairly quickly. Doomfist is hard, since he can very easily outmaneuver you and dodge with sleep, but if you wait until he blocks, it's basically a free kill with your team. Generally speaking though, Ana's a pretty anti-tank sort of hero. She does lots of damage, has abilities to shut down their support, and can play at ranges that no tank can meaningfully engage with. Dive tanks are just the harder matchup for her. Dive DPS are also quite tough, but that's because they have better ways to get around your cooldowns. Genji can actually send your dart and nade back at you, Tracer can very easily dodge your grenade and sleep, or recall them away if need be, and Sombra can stay invisible until the perfect moment to pounce on you. These characters make Ana's job really hard, and if they're getting played, it might be time to switch. Finally, the only real counter to Ana on the support roster is another Ana or Kiriko. Only really Ana can play from the range that Ana can, because she has no damage fall off. Kiriko gets the spot because of Protection Suzu. Her kunai can be annoying for Ana, but you can dodge them since they're slow projectiles, but Suzu, that will cleanse both your anti-grenade and sleep dart. That's terrible, since those are your most important abilities. It's also particularly hard to pin down Kiriko herself, meaning that Ana can't just take care of the problem on her own. So if the enemy team has good counters to Ana, like Tracer or Kiriko, you should, unfortunately, probably not play Ana. The enemy team's playstyle also impacts how well you can play Ana. If they're playing hard and fast dive, like the comp I listed before, Ana just does not have enough defensive cooldowns to stop all of those divers from killing her. If the enemy is playing Brawl with Lucio, it's also best to stay away from Ana, since it's harder to use your abilities to get away, and harder to keep the Reinhardt, Orisa, or Zarya away from you. There are just better supports that interact with those compositions more fluidly and easily. Now, finally, let's talk about how to use those abilities properly. Starting again with primary fire, you should always be trying to scope in for as long as possible while not staying hard scoped the entire game. Ana's best firing mode is scoped shots, and even though in Overwatch League they don't scope very often, for most players it's probably the best way to play. Hipfire shots are less consistent than scoped shots, especially at range, so you should only be using hipfire if you're in a close range duel, or if you're sure that you can hit the shot. At this point, you may be asking yourself if scope shots are so good, then why not always stay scoped? If anyone sees a hard scoped Ana firing shots from across the map, they will target her. With the 65% move speed penalty, it's pretty easy to land shots in her face, even if her hitbox is pretty small. Widowmaker, Kiriko, Ashe, Ana, Zenyatta, Hanzo, even Echo will take their chance to nail you in the face with a bullet or multiple, and heroes like Tracer, Sombra, Junkrat, Reaper, and Genji will also take advantage of your reduced mobility and field of view to burst you down, so it's best to stay scoped as long as it is safe and unscoped the rest of the time. Though determining how much time is safe is tricky and depends heavily on the playstyle of the enemies and what heroes they're playing. But generally, I'd say about 5 to 6 shots are safe while scoped, and then the rest need to be unscoped for a little while. If they have any of the heroes I listed before, go for maybe 1 or 2 scoped shots and then unscope and wait to scope again. This is because these heroes in particular, if they want to kill you, can kill you very quickly, even from far range. So beware any burst damage heroes, and try and stay unscoped more often if the enemy has them. The best way to fire if you need consistent damage or healing but can't hard scope is quick scoping. Ana can quickscope quite easily since her bullets have no charge time, and you can hold the primary fire button to shoot as soon as you enter the scope. This firing type gives you the benefits of being unscoped, harder to hit and more aware of your surroundings, and being scoped, hit scan shots, at the same time. The drawback here is fire rate. Since there's a brief scope and unscope cast time, your fire rate goes down from 1.25 shots per second to 0.83 shots per second. This is a pretty hefty reduction, around 33%, so you have to use quickscopes wisely. If someone needs healing immediately, but you don't want to hard scope, shoot one quickscope shot to get the hit scan healing and then hip fire. This will reduce your HPS briefly, but sometimes the instant shot is worth the extra 0.4 seconds, especially at long range. If you're very confident in your aim, quickscope shots are also really good for dueling small, fast-moving heroes like Tracer or Genji, but personally quickscoping messes up my view of the fight and it actually makes me worse at hitting Tracer, so take that with a grain of salt. Now on to Sleep Dart. First rule of Sleep Dart usage is to have fun. Rule 2 is to not throw your dart off cooldown. I know it can be tempting. The rush of hitting someone from 3 miles away with a sleep dart and watching them collapse for a few seconds is really funny, but your sleep dart is definitely better used when it's well placed. A general rule of thumb is, save sleep dart for the biggest threat to you and always ping your sleeping target. If they don't have any major threats to you, then great. You can just throw your sleep dart out to your heart's content. But any good Ana player knows that every team has a threat to you, and you have to keep your sleep dart for them. In all honesty, if the enemy team isn't running a dive comp, or if you have a Brig or Lifeweaver, you most likely don't need to hold on to your sleep dart forever. You could just throw it out whenever you want and try and get some random bits of value from it, but I still advise you to hold on to it until you absolutely need it. It's most likely your greatest defensive option against anyone, and is often key to your survival. The second part of Rule 2 is often equally important to getting value out of sleep. Pinging your sleeping target gives your team a heads up, if they didn't see the sleep dart connect, that someone is hitting that honk shoe mid-fight and they could use a brief escort to the afterlife. Often, if you let your team know someone's sleeping, someone's coming over for the free elimination if they can, so ping it whenever you sleep someone. Next up is Biotic Grenade. This ability has a lot of nuances to how it should be used, so let's just get right to it. Generally, you should use this ability as often as possible when you see a good opportunity for it. If it's a crowd of enemies a few meters away and no barriers or defense matrices, throw that grenade. If you see an over-aggressive Junker Queen or Roadhog, throw the grenade. If you see a DPS that needs to get taught a lesson from the best Ana player in the world, that's you, then throw that grenade. But if they have a hard dive comp, you might be better off letting that DPS get their lesson handed to them by your Cassidy, and save your grenade for when you really need it. Since the grenade heals allies and damages enemies at the same time, it is an amazing duel tool, but it is also an amazing anti-dive tool. You can splash the grenade on the floor, heal yourself, amplify incoming healing, damage the enemy, and anti-heal them all in one move. This gives your other support the upper hand in saving you, and gives the rest of your team the upper hand in absolutely demolishing the poor Genji who thought he could ever touch everyone's favorite Arabic grandma. Generally speaking, I like to follow this rule. If the enemy is playing a tank with a barrier or matrix, or Kiriko, save grenade until there's a window to hit it and make it stick. If the enemy is playing hard dive, save grenade until you get dove upon. If neither of these are true, wait until an enemy is low or just looking at you funny. Then finally, say it with me now, throw that grenade. The trouble with this is the same as with Sleep Dart. It's very tempting to just throw the grenade off cooldown, especially since it's only 10 seconds, but the Biotic Grenade is absolutely your most powerful tool and can easily win teamfights if placed correctly, so you should definitely try and make it impactful. This does mean, often, to not use it on yourself, even if you are low. You have the general support passive, where you recover 15 health per second after 1.5 seconds of not being damaged, so you don't need your grenade to heal yourself as much as you used to in Overwatch 1. If you think you absolutely need it to live, though, then go for it. It's always more important to survive and have no grenade than die with grenade. Good targets for the grenade are tanks, supports, and DPS that rely heavily on healing to live, like Roadhog, Lifeweaver, Junker Queen, Brigitte, Reaper, Soldier, Winston, and Reinhardt. But really, anyone hit by the grenade is in a tough spot, unless their name is Moira, Zarya, or Kiriko. And finally, Ana's ultimate, Nano Boost. Nano is definitely one of the best ultimates in the entire game. You basically make one target of your choosing lore accurate for 8 seconds. They can do so much with the damage boost and resistance that Nano usage can often decide games. Bearing that in mind, how do we best use Nano Boost? Well, there are two main options for how to use it. First, as a combo ultimate with another like Tactical Visor or Dragon Blade, or second, as a life-saving tool on a key target. We'll talk about the ultimate combo first. Since Nano gives both damage resistance and a damage boost, it works very well with transformation ultimates that are normally somewhat underwhelming, like Dragon Blade and Tactical Visor, but also things like Whole Hog, Rampage, Annihilation, EMP, Overclock, and Death Blossom. Some cooldowns even work well, like Ramatra's Nemesis form and Bastion's Assault configuration. These are so powerful because they do a lot of damage, and the Nano Boost just amplifies that further, as well as making the target much harder to kill. Now, as a life-saving tool, Nano is also quite potent. This is actually my preferred way to use Nano, since I just typically enjoy saving people's lives, that's why I play support. The damage reduction and instant heal on Nano makes for an incredible clutch save that can keep a high priority target alive through an amazing amount of focus fire. And typically, that extra damage does quite a bit to alleviate the situation as well. I don't have that much to say about general nano usage. It's really up to you to find which way you like to use it more and discover what scenarios warrant a nano. I can't possibly list them all here. It's a fast building ultimate if you play well, so it's not the end of the world if you waste it, so just try some things, see what works. You'll probably be surprised with what you can get away with. And now some general tips. You can pretty easily combo any 200 HP target if you sleep them by shooting them, throwing the grenade, shooting them again, and meleeing them. This combo does 235 damage total, meaning you don't technically need the melee or the sleep, but since your damage applies over time, it's better to get the instant burst of 30 if you can, and the sleep to immobilize them if you can. Try to play Ana in the back or on high ground. She is a sniper after all, and even though she has tools to be a threat up close, it's always better for you to be safe. She does have the previously mentioned support passive, where she regenerates 15 health per second when out of combat for 1.5 seconds or more, so it's always good to play around natural cover too. You'll just need to play Ana to get a sense of what places exactly to stand and where to fire from, since I can't possibly give you a list of all good positions in a video under 2 hours long. One of the biggest tips I can give lower ranked players is, don't be afraid to let your team take some damage. You have impressively high DPS for a support, and infinite range, so do some damage. Take some time to reposition. Hide behind cover to regenerate some health. You don't always need to be healing your tank to win. You can do other things with your time on Ana. You should do other things with your time on Ana. Another big thing, don't worry too much about stats. Moira, Brigitte, and Baptiste put out a ridiculous amount of healing, and Ana just can't keep up with that, and that's okay. You are contributing to your team with other things like anti-grenades, sleep darts, and nano boosts. And that is all I have for you today. Hopefully this little guide helps at least one person out there. If this is something people like, I will absolutely make more of these and try to improve them a bit. This is something I had always wanted to make when I started a YouTube channel, so I'm glad to have finally produced it. So now that I've covered everything I wanted to, it's time to say goodbye.